Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 16th regular meeting of the Pine-Richland School Board. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mrs. Misbach?
Here.
Mr. Kashani?
Here.
Dr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. DiTullio?
Here.
Dr. Mihalik?
Here.
Dr. Meyer?
Here.
Mr. Moy?
Here.
Mrs. Swope?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. The next item is recognition of visitors. If anyone would like to address the board, they may do so at this time. Seeing how there is none, correspondence, Ms. Williams?
Kira Anderson emailed the board regarding school safety.
Thank you. Item 1.04 is a motion to approve the meeting minutes as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed?
Yes.
Motion carries. Strategic plan update, Dr. Miller.
Our MAPE application will be submitted this week, so we're fired up about that. That is years in the making, and we really look forward. It will be a time now, so it'll be a time until we get our feedback in the early fall. But ultimately, what we will have is a feedback report that looks across the entire operation of the district and gives us key themes. What are some key themes, strengths? What are some key themes, opportunities for improvement? And then category by category, so leadership and governance, strategy, students and parents, we will get more specific strengths and opportunities for improvement. So the end-all product of this will be a feedback report that, as a part of our normal cycle of improvement, we can look at maybe some blind spots or areas of next step that are going to help us get better. So really, we'll feel good when Barb puts that in the mail. Greta Kazilla and Rachel Hathorn are examiners for MAPE this year. Their training was scheduled to be here this week in this district. We were the host site for the Western Pennsylvania, so it's a Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey. That had to be canceled due to the COVID-19. So they will have an alternate online hybrid training, so not the face-to-face. So that's a little sad for them, but they'll still get quality training and then serve as examiners. Kristen and I were both approved to serve on the national board. Again, for me, this will be the 8th year. For her, this will be the 1st year. Unfortunately, because of the situation, that will not be in the National Institute of Standards and Tech. It will be online. I find that most distressing because one of my favorite restaurants is right across the street. So, but the quality of training, I hope, will be the same. What's exciting about that is the ability to work through a case study with different sector experts and have your thinking honed by some of the best thinkers in the United States. That's what happens every year at the training. And it doesn't even matter what the case study is. It could be healthcare, it could be business nonprofit, but when you engage in the set of skills and apply that to a case study with dialogue amongst the experts, it is like something that it's just difficult to describe. It's really a powerful opportunity, and even in our current contingency planning for coronavirus and COVID-19, a lot of the roots of the system's approach to how do you plan for continuity of operations when faced with unforeseen things connects back to some of the learnings from the work connected to Baldrige Performance Excellence Program. So we're excited about that, a little disappointed. It's good though, because then we won't be out of the district, so we'll be here doing the training. So excited about throwing it into U.S. mail. This will be great, great for it.
Thank you for the update.
Sure.
Next item is a consent agenda. Before I make the motion, would any board member like to have any of the subsidiary motions removed for individual voting?
Peter, I have 2 comments on that, if you can hear me okay.
7.01 has to do with travel, and I just wanted to question whether we should be approving student travel at this time for April. And the other one is 7.03 I have to abstain from because I have a research grant from the company that is making the donation.
Barb, can you pull 702 and 703?
701.
701 and 3, I mean.
Get my right mouse here. 701.
I would even suggest we could table 701 if you're interested in tabling that.
Table when we get
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah, good.
Just make it action, consent, and 703. Action, consent.
And Ben, while Barb makes adjustments to board docs, can we have someone else do student services down there, right? So let me see. Since now we have some items under there, I'll walk through student services since we have some individual items now.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay.
Okay, you want to refresh? Do so.
I just have one question about, so it's item 801, personnel approvals. So it's listed there for an undetermined start date, and given the contingency operation of the district, whether that, what that means in the context of how we're operating with a start date to be approved for personnel. So I don't know if that means that should be pulled or.
Specifically, which position are you talking about?
There were several that were listed that way, so
Yeah, we would, no, we would want to move forward. And, so I would say we would ask
Okay.
for the board's approval of that. And the TBD is a part of a function of the person, but the sooner we can get them engaged, even now at this time, we can do
Okay.
PR Academy. There's a number of things that we can do to
Okay.
onboard and go there.
Great.
Ready?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion for the consent agenda. If it doesn't have it yet, I'll stipulate at this point that it doesn't include items 7.01 and 7.03. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Kashani, item 4.08.
Item 4.08 is a reminder that we will have our next Finance Committee meeting on April 6th at 6 in this room. We'll discuss the 2021 budget, get an update on the capital funding plan, and also, I believe, bond refunding we'll discuss at that meeting, too.
Dr. Meyer, academic achievement.
This is a reminder that the Academic Achievement Committee is scheduled for May 4th, 2020 at 6 p.m. An in-depth program review for music, language arts, and library will be presented. This is an off night, and no school board meeting will follow the committee meeting.
Yeah, can I have a comment to that?
Yeah.
We do not anticipate any change to that date based on what's happening now. We're in a good position, and even if the period of closure would extend many weeks or months, we would be able to utilize the professional development component to the fixed schedule in order to engage the team, finish the work, and still bring it forward on time. So we will not be impacted by this with this report.
Thank you. Next item due to the consent agenda is item 7.01, the Air Force Junior ROTC Langley Air Force Base trip. I'm going to make a motion to table this at
That's
the
good.
administration's recommendation.
Second.
Would we want to table or just give you authorization as the administration to stop the trip if it's not safe? To me, I would put my trust in the administration with what they've done to authorize
based on the discretion of the administration at the time that this travel is scheduled.
I think it's just easier to table. We'll bring it
Okay.
back to the next, we'll bring it back next month if things change enough that it's
Yeah, it's
worth
fine.
bringing back.
Yeah, it's
Essentially,
fine.
the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
220, 221.
Whatever it takes.
whatever it takes.
Yeah.
All those in favor of tabling?
Yes.
Yes.
Second? Did I get a
Yes.
second?
Oh,
I second.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. All those in favor, yes?
Next item is item 7.03, a motion to accept in accordance with policy 702 and with our gratitude, a MECO-provided laser etching machine that will be used in the engineering and technology department.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Again, I will be abstaining from this since I do business with MECO.
All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? And one abstention noted.
Thank you.
Staff Services, Dr. Mahalik, I have you at 8.04.
Yep. Item 8.04, 403B, Plan Document Amendment, information item for consideration at the April planning meeting, a motion to approve the Pine-Richland School District amended 403B plan.
Thank you. Mr.
Item-
Moy, sorry.
Was it
Yeah.
805, item 8.05 is an information item, and Staff Services Committee meeting scheduled for April 20th at 6 PM.
So I just add, so that's our annual time we work through our staffing process. So again, despite the circumstances right now, we do a tremendous amount with pre-staffing in all of our schools. We will be able to continue all of that pre-staffing work during this period of time. One of the components, we do a student support matrix evaluation for every student who may require support through a paraprofessional. We'll still be able to gather that information. So again, it might be a little bit different form, but at that meeting, we talk about course requests, sections, enrollment projections, et cetera. One of the biggest points of interest this year, which we're going to have to navigate through staffing, is we have seen a shift, and this is part of the demographic study, we've seen a shift in student population across the district, whereby Richland has seen a sort of a decline trend in overall school population. Hants has been sort of no trend, up and down year over year. Wexford has seen an increase in student population. So we are reaching that place where, and that's why we're where we are with demographics and the redistricting process. But as we get into any potential section increases for next year, one of the things we'll have to discuss is what or how, if there is a section increase, do we handle that? Do we move a teacher if we're down a section in another school for 1 year, knowing that a redistricting would sort of recalibrate, restabilize, or do we address that in a different way? So again, nothing for tonight, but that'll be a nuance of like future thinking that only comes into play because we are concurrently doing the redistricting study.
Thank you. Mr. Moy, item 9.04.
For board consideration at the April planning meeting, this is going to be a motion to authorize advertisement and issuance of a request bid specifications for recabling of Pine-Richland High School. The district will open bids on May 6th and request board consideration on the selected vendors on May 11th. The project will follow a similar path as the 2016 middle school and the 2015 elementary cable projects. And then item 9.05, a joint operational service and student committee meeting was held prior to this regular meeting. The topics discussed included demographic, SIS and FIS, and COVID-19 updates.
Thank you, Matt. Item 10.01 is a motion to approve the Pine-Richland School District Charter School Funding Reform Resolution as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? I want to thank
Yep.
Dr. Meyer and Christine also for your input on this. I won't belabor all the points that we made before. Some of them are repeated here. The facts, the fact that the current funding system isn't rational, is not aligned with expenses, and is quite harmful, in fact, to certain school districts. I did actually, somebody did reach out to me from the charter school community, a teacher at a school that specializes in certain special needs through the charter system. And it was a very good dialogue. So it was educational to me to understand how things work better. As a bright spot, I'll say it was good to hear that in certain cases that charter infrastructure has allowed somebody who felt that the larger sort of, public school system didn't allow them to achieve what they needed to achieve. I'd like to make sure we take care of that and
Right.
address that as well. But I think that was sort of this original, almost utopian ideal of what a charter school should do.
Right.
So that was good. But there was still some agreement about the funding and that lack of tying and how it's being used. So it didn't make me waver at all on this. But it engendered a good dialogue. So we're appreciative of that. Any other discussion? Right. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 10.02 is a motion to elect Gary Shingleton as trustee for the board of the Allegheny County Schools Health Insurance Consortium for Northern Region.
Second?
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.03, and I just noticed it's on here as a discussion item. Was that just to?
Yeah, and then somebody makes a motion, I can put it in there.
Okay. I'm going to make it as a motion because that's the only, I only have one speed. And then we'll discuss it. If no one seconds me, we'll move right along. The chair will make a motion to, pardon, let's get down to it. A motion to approve revisions in policy 006.1 as attached to provide for essentially electronic attendance at board meetings during the ongoing coronavirus crisis. Our current policy requires a majority attend in present, and it also limits the number of meetings that a board member can attend electronically. These are not required by school code, so I'm making a motion to amend our policy during the duration of the crisis to resolve that. Do I have a second?
I second.
Yeah.
Motion's been made and seconded, so we can have discussion. I would say, I don't think I could re-summarize, I won't, exactly what we're changing and why we're changing. Even here tonight, we've tried to model some of the behaviors that we talk about, social distancing instead of lining up all here, and try to limit face-to-face. We also would want to change this now because it allows us flexibility in the future without having to meet again in person to then change the policy so we don't have to meet in person. So it resolves that ambiguity as well. In the interest of time, one thing we've learned is speculating about what our meeting calendar or our inclination to meet together in person may look like in April is one of the most futile exercises we could engage in right now. Because we know there'll be more information. It may be out of our hands, it may not. We'll make those decisions as they come. But this simply allows us the flexibility to address it as we see fit at that time.
Would this also cover the committee meetings too, if we wanted to hold those?
Certainly, the committee meetings are even a lower standard.
Yeah.
But we would apply to the committee meetings as well, since we don't vote at the committee meetings, but
Right.
yeah.
But we historically have not made committee meetings available remotely. We might want to consider that too.
I think if we were doing
Yeah.
so, we would just apply to the committee meeting on each night that we have.
Yeah.
Just one question is how public comment gets handled in a situation like that. Is public comment still going to require physical presence here? Or is there some provision that can be extended for that as well too?
So we had some discussion along those lines. One somewhat dystopian vision is Barb Williams and I sitting here at a table with a phone between us. But in all honesty, both willing to do that, far apart at the table. And you know, if people felt the need, if that's what it takes to resolve any doubt about the appropriateness of the actions that we take, for instance, we're approving a preliminary budget in April, I want to resolve all doubt that that was approved in an appropriate way. That may be something that we would do in that case. We can certainly invite, and as you start to say the words, you realize we already invite comments. So we have our emails out there, we have the board secretary email out there, but we would certainly work to encourage people and highlight that agenda or whatever ideas, you know, we come up with. I mean, we already have those channels of correspondence. We record that, and that's why it reflects people exercising their right to address grievances and petition the government. So we would continue to do so, but we would probably have to come up with a little more concrete ideas if we went in that direction, fully electronic.
I think one of the things that we're factoring into this is the fact that if one of us are sick, we don't want to come here.
Correct.
But we have to be present. Whereas someone who might have wanted to visit and attend the meeting as a guest wouldn't come if they were sick. It's a little bit of a different situation. They don't have to be here, we do, to get a quorum. So.
Barb, do we need to reword that at this point, or is the motion as stated sufficient with the executive content? What would you like to do on that one with board docs, or should we just vote and?
I think we would just vote. The wording is good. Everybody's okay with the wording.
Okay.
Yeah, my only one comment on this is that whatever channels we use for video conferencing or calling in, we need a better system than currently exists because it is difficult at times. I don't know if Ben can hear everything going on, but sometimes it fades in and out. So if we're going to be having a dialogue, we need to be able to actually conference and take advantage of some technology that's out there and have a better system than currently involved.
Yeah, ironically and hopefully, if we have a large number of board members on a teleconference system, it may actually improve. At least, you know, those on the phone hopefully can hear each other as well as people who conference together. I won't be able to hear you here, but I don't listen much anyways.
Yeah, this current system won't work well enough going forward because I've missed some things. You know, they're non-critical things, but you know, I'm not catching everything you're saying.
That was just us talking about you, Ben.
Yeah, I caught that. Greg, you're one of the few that come through clear. Maybe you're using your mic, I don't know, but you know, you come through the clearest.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we have talked about that as well. So to be determined a little bit on that.
Well, I'm happy to use my Zoom host capability. So we all have cameras facing us on our notebooks. So, and then we could project up on the big screen. It could work.
Mr. Stovener today did mention we could also use the Google Mail function too, since we all have Gmail accounts.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely figure something out.
Okay.
Oh, Sean, he'll love this. He'll nerd out.
So this gives us the flexibility, like I said, with the actual avenue and the route that we take. Each one has challenges, whether it's public comment, recording, et cetera. So we'll have to address those as we go.
Does anybody know, does the Google option automatic, can you record those meetings? Okay.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.04 is a reminder of our Board and Senior Leadership Team Workshop on June 22nd, 2020.
I wanted to confirm that date works for everybody. And we usually have been in July. We shifted it into June just to make sure everybody could be present.
As long as the virus issues are over, unless you all are in Punta Cana with me,
It doesn't
I
work
won't
for
be
you.
here.
Are you okay with that? Or do you want us to try to find a different day?
I don't want, trying to find a date in the
Okay.
summer is very difficult, so I'm just letting you know that I won't
Okay.
be there.
If that's all right, Mrs. Swope would not be able to make the July, and being a new member of the team, having her participate in that, I think would be a great experience. So
Yep.
in that'll be great.
This may change too, like we have to stay flexible, but
Yeah,
thank you.
it's good. I think that's great. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
Report.
Reports?
We spent about 45 minutes in the committee meeting talking about the coronavirus and COVID-19 and contingency plan efforts. So I just want to provide an extremely high-level update. So as an international epidemic and then ultimately being named by the World Health Organization as a global pandemic, the novel coronavirus has been moving its way across the world and then into the United States on the West Coast, and then ultimately making its way across. So this has been going on for some time. We notified our parents first on February 5th about, I will say, routine hygiene behaviors, best practices in terms of keeping a healthy environment in schools. Over recent weeks, it has continued to progress as a disease, and with high levels of concern, certainly in different parts of the world. And it has followed a certain path that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention talk about, and we have been closely monitoring that as a senior leadership team since late January. That led to our first communication. As the coronavirus made its way into the United States and the first confirmed cases, we started to enhance contingency planning. One of our responsibilities as a district that we talk about around safety, security, and a positive culture is the emergency operations plan. One part of that plan, rarely if ever implemented, is continuity of operations in the event that something occurs. And the CDC asks schools to develop plans for delivering alternative education in the event something like, in this case, COVID-19 would impact or require what they call school dismissals or a closure of school. So in recent weeks, we increased the frequency of communication with our families. We have 4,600 students of varying ages and needs within the district. We've been working with our educators in various roles to create contingency plans. Then over the last couple weeks, we have shared the conceptual framework of those plans. We've gradually added more detail. And as conditions continued to change in Pennsylvania, we began to prepare for the possibility of school closure. In addition to the CDC as a significant credible source, Allegheny County Health Department is a driver of information here for us in Pine-Richland. And so Dr. Kristen Mertz at the Allegheny County Health Department is their lead epidemiologist. She and her team have been nothing short of incredible. When I spoke to Dr. Mertz most recently, which was 6:45 a.m. on Sunday, she had not slept in 4 days. And we were speaking on Sunday specifically about questions related to health and safety of the district and staff and how we go about some of our contingency planning, just as an example. For us, this matter is being addressed differently in different parts of the Commonwealth, same in different parts of Allegheny County. For us, the key drivers of our contingency plan, number one, health and safety of our students and staff. Number two, continuity of educational programming, because that's critical for children. And as children and older students get into any form of crisis, one of the important parts of it's not just about delivering the best education we can. It's about engaging students in routine when other things are happening around them. For me, I remember September 11th being in a similar room to this in an administrative meeting when September 11th changed the way the United States thought about a whole lot of things and what that meant to go back to a school building as an assistant principal and begin to work through that. So these are rare things that impact schools. But the first driver, again, was health, safety, and welfare. The second one is continuity. And the third is to provide opportunity for staff through flexible means to support learning for kids. So when it became evident that a number of schools were closing in Western Pennsylvania, we made the decision to close for 2 weeks with a high likelihood of extending that, just an hour before the governor made a decision to close schools in Pennsylvania for 10 business days as an initial period of closure. Pennsylvania Department of Ed is an agency that provides regulatory advice to school districts in Pennsylvania, and the reality is that the Pennsylvania Department of Ed and any system, any incident command structure within an incident like this becomes tested in significant ways. And so both with personnel and with interagency cooperation and with a rapidly evolving crisis, in this case a global pandemic, it stresses the system in such a way that it is difficult for large organizations to act with clarity and agility. And so for us, we made a key driver working to be able to implement an alternative program quickly. For those of you that were on the board or a part of our community a couple of years ago when we had a situation that we needed to close hands, we were able to build a school within a school in a weekend in order to have students continue instruction. And that was challenging on one hand because we had to physically recreate a traditional schooling experience in another building for children and do it at the start of a year. Where we are now is we have to completely flip the educational model in order to deliver instruction in different ways to students at all grade levels, and also work to meet the needs of students with intense needs through their IEPs or other programming. This is not simple. And most organizations are not equipped to do that, but the hard work of preparing for a contingency plan has been over the last 3 weeks and month, not over the last 48 hours. The last 48 hours have been impactful because the regulations and guidance changes, it shifts, it's not clearly understood. But when it comes to, and a lot of those things are outside of our control. You know, we are not the agency that can answer a whole lot of questions, but we are the organization that can find the way to deliver the best educational program to children. And so what we have happening in the next 2 days are what we've called bridge assignments. Those bridge assignments were developed by teams of teachers specifically based on COVID-19, with the understanding that we could have absenteeism and sickness within families and others. And Thursday of this week, we'll begin new instruction. There are not many school districts in Allegheny County or in the Commonwealth who are immediately transitioning into an instructional model that will provide continuity to families. And even though there are a number of questions that we and every other agency in the Commonwealth doesn't know the answer to, we don't believe that waiting for answers to questions that no one knows the answer to is the best way to prepare our students and our community for continuity of learning. We also know, because we've been following the disease transmission over the last 6 weeks, that the high likelihood is the best week to transition is this week. Next week will be worse. The next week will be worse as the increase in testing capability in the country and as the number of confirmed cases. We see it with the restrictions that are happening around the world. You know, it is, you know, we are not experts in public health. We read and listen to what the experts in public health are saying, but that is not our expertise. We are staying right focused on students. And so we are beginning those programs. That requires a shift. It's a fundamental shift within the home. It provides a stress on families as they have to make arrangements for care in the home. We understand that. It's a stress. We have to be able to do that using technologies, tools, and skills that we don't have necessarily. And so we have educators, paraprofessionals, and others working in real time to learn, develop, adapt, and implement. and we're already seeing incredible examples of that. It's overwhelming for families. They have to think about how to structure a learning environment in the home. We are committed to finding a way to meet the needs of every student. If ever there was a time that tests our commitment to the mission of every student every day, it's coming up with continuity of operations in a global pandemic, providing routine and consistency, stability, when everything else around the home or the child or family or concern and anxiety is there. That's where we are. So for most students, we believe we have the capacity to do that. We need time. It won't be perfect, but we'll improve it. We'll get where we need to be. For some of our students with disabilities who provide more intensive services, Tier 2 and 3 interventions in our MTSS model, we are committed to finding a way to make it work. Our families will understand that even if it isn't perfect, the energy, the effort, the commitment of our staff is here to support children. And so we had a team specifically focused today of about 25 people, psychologists, intervention specialists, paraprofessionals, autistic support, life skills, emotional support, all together specifically reviewing the interventions and supports that we provide for children, identifying the alternative delivery methods that may exist, often through technology, in order to sort of adapt and implement those. And we are ready to go. I walked the halls of all 6 of our schools today while some of our teams were focused in that area, and was able to see the collaboration, the motivation to innovate, anxiety on the part of staff as they try to think about, use the example during the committee meeting, a kindergarten teacher working with 6th graders, discerning how to deliver kindergarten instruction remotely to students who are 5 and 6 years old. I mean, this is not somewhere that we have been. But even though we're not a one-to-one school district, we are adapting through our continuity program. Tomorrow morning at Eden Hall Upper Elementary School, we will have a system so that any family who needs a device or more than one device, and we have 600 right now, will be able to drive onto Eden Hall campus within a window of time. Without ever getting out of their car, they will be able to get the device, the tools, and the resources necessary. We've built a separate student help desk and ticketing system to manage the implementation of those devices. We will be offering, as soon as we get PDE approval, breakfast and lunch on the go to students and families who qualify through the free and reduced lunch program. We will have that operational with Sodexo. We just have a whole host of things that are happening. In an update that we shared today with families, there are some districts that haven't communicated much at all. We are probably at the tipping edge of too many as families try to navigate, especially if they have multiple kids and they're trying to get into this. Bottom line, though, is there will be a period of transition. We are in it right now. That period of transition is both for the educators to get a feel, for students to sort of settle and understand, and for parents to see how that role changes and what happens in this model. But we've experienced change before, and what we know to be true is that a week from now, we will begin to settle in to routines, both on the education side and on the student learning side. It isn't going to be the same, it isn't going to be the best, but it's going to be good. And the next week, it will be better, and we will continue to improve. We do not have a crystal ball. We do have 4 months worth of monitoring the progression of COVID-19 across the globe. We understand what has happened there. We learn and see what efforts are made by governments in different parts of the world to try to take action to stop or slow the spread. But what the experts also say is the spread is going to happen. Community spread has happened, it is happening, it will continue to happen, and that takes a totally different face when it happens within the community in which you live as opposed to a different part of the United States. And so that is where we are now. There is a high likelihood. CDC issued guidelines yesterday limiting the number of people in a gathering to 50. Even though that guideline isn't something that is necessarily controlling on its face, we put more than 50 kids in a bus to get them to school. We certainly have more than 50 when we are in a cafeteria or delivering lunch services. So we don't know what will happen, but there is a very real possibility, and I shared with parents today, not to alarm or promote or create anxiety, but there is a very real possibility that 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and even the outside possibility of not returning to school during the 1920 school year. We just don't know. But what we are excited about from a focus on student perspective is how can we make the best for our students and families and for our workforce in this kind of situation. So I want to say publicly again, Dr. Kristen Mertz has been just unbelievable for Allegheny County Health Department in supporting us and supporting other schools. We have used her counsel to drive us. There are a whole lot of questions we don't know the answers to, but our belief as leaders is now is the time to lead and take action in support of students and learning in an alternative method, not the time to wait for somebody to wave a magic wand or come up with answers that are going to work. So, one of the realities is we're one of the only schools around here that's immediately transitioning into an alternate program. But we're doing that because of what we've been doing over the last 3 weeks getting ready for it. So we know we're going to have some anxiety and concern. We will work through that. And we believe we will find a rhythm and routine within the next week to 10 days. And then at the same time we're establishing a routine, the virus will likely be escalated in our area with the number of confirmed cases and some of the fear and concern that exists. So we're hoping to balance those two things. So that's a brief update. That was the brief version of the update.
Thank you, and I will say literally briefly, the tremendous thanks from the board to the administration, to our workforce at every level for what has happened and taken place before this crisis, and for the resiliency in tapping into those strengths now, and the focus on our mission to provide an education to our students, while still, I think, very, very successfully maintaining safe working conditions for all. So we are, on behalf of the community, very grateful for that.
Yes,
so thank you.
And thank you for all it goes on said that the hours, the time, the effort, but it's taking away from your own personal time and family time, so thank you.
We'll move to our second recognition of visitors. If anyone would like to address the board, they may do so at this time. Seeing how there's none, we are adjourned. Have a good evening.